All right, let's just jump right in. We all know this feeling, right? You have this dream, this big, important dream for your life. And it's not fuzzy. Oh no, it is so incredibly detailed. You've pictured the city you'll live in, you've designed the logo in your head, maybe you've even mentally rehearsed the interviews where you explain how it all began. And that's the wild part, isn't it? The vision is so vivid, it feels less like a plan and more like a memory of a life you've already lived. But here's the kicker. In reality, you haven't taken a single concrete step. Not one. The dream just sits there, perfect, shiny, and completely untouched. So where does your mind go first? Straight to the blame game. We tell ourselves, I must just be lazy or I just don't have the discipline. It feels like this simple, frustrating character flaw, a failure of willpower. But what if that's not the story at all? What if it's the complete opposite? Well, what the research shows is that this inaction often comes from a place that looks nothing like laziness. It's because you care so deeply about this dream that the thought of actually starting feels dangerous. You're afraid to tarnish the perfect vision. Because if you try and fail, it isn't just a project that failed, it's the dream itself. And that's a much bigger loss. So to figure out how we get moving, we first have to look at something kind of weird, how some of the most common, well-meaning productivity advice out there can actually be the very thing keeping us stuck. It sounds counterintuitive, I know, but the science behind it is pretty fascinating. Let's start with a big one you've heard a million times. Visualize your success, right? The whole self-help industry is built on this. Picture yourself crossing the finish line. Feel the triumph. The problem is, your brain isn't always so great at telling the difference between a vivid fantasy and a real accomplishment. And this is where the science gets wild. A psychologist named Gabrielle Addington did the research and found that when we indulge in these super positive daydreams, our bodies physically chill out. Our nervous system relaxes, our blood pressure drops, and our actual subjective energy levels go down. It's like your brain gets a little taste of the reward before you've done any of the work, and that little taste is just enough to zap the motivation you needed to actually go do it. Okay, here's another piece of advice that can totally go wrong. Tell everyone your goals. The idea, of course, is that it'll make you feel accountable, but a ton of research points in the other direction. Announcing your goal can actually trick your brain into feeling like you've already made progress. And this quote really nails it. Think about it. You tell your friends, hey, I'm finally gonna write that novel. And they all go, wow, that's amazing, you're a writer. Boom, your brain just got a hit of social validation. And that good feeling can sometimes be enough to satisfy the underlying urge, so your brain kind of relaxes its grip on doing the actual hard work. So if even the good advice can lead us astray, what are the deeper things going on in our heads that keep us in this cycle of dreaming but not doing? Let's dig into the psychology of what keeps us stuck. This one is huge. At some point, there's this quiet little shift. The goal stops being something you want to do, and it fuses with who you are. You're no longer the person who wants to start a business, you just are the aspiring entrepreneur. It's a comfortable identity. But the moment you start, you risk proving that identity wrong. What if you try and it's not good? Suddenly, it feels like your entire identity is a lie. And that fear leads directly to this, self-handicapping. It's a totally unconscious defense mechanism. By not really starting, you protect the dream. It gets to stay perfect, beautiful, and full of potential. For one simple reason. It's all hypothetical. As long as you don't take the priceless vase out of the box, it can never ever break. It's a strategy that shields you from the pain of failure in the short term. Now this one is sneaky. I mean, maybe the sneakiest of them all. It's not about watching TV or goofing off. It's about being incredibly busy doing things that feel like progress. You're doing endless research. You're organizing your workspace perfectly. You're buying all the right books. From the outside, you look so responsible. But deep down, it's just a really clever way to avoid the one thing you're actually scared to do. All of these things feed into what researchers call the intention-behavior gap. And this chart says it all. There's this massive canyon between our desire to do something and our actual behavior. I mean, studies have shown that you can massively increase someone's intention, their desire, and it only leads to a small or medium change in what they actually do. Just wanting it isn't enough. And, the long-term cost of living in that gap is real. It's not some big dramatic tragedy. It's a quiet, slow-burning sadness that just builds up over time. It's the emotional weight of carrying around this ghost version of yourself. This constant, quiet reminder of a life you're not living. Okay, so we've looked at the problem from all angles. We get the psychology, but what do we do? How do we actually break the cycle? Well, the good news is there are concrete, science-backed strategies that work. Let's get into the how. So let's build a new toolkit. We're going to look at 3 steps, and each one is specifically designed to fight back against those psychological traps we just talked about. So, remember how just visualizing success can backfire? This is the fix. It's called mental contrasting. You start the same way. You imagine that amazing outcome. You feel how great it would be. But, and this is everything, you immediately pivot and get brutally honest about the real obstacles standing in your way. Right now. What are they? I don't have enough time. I'm terrified of what my family will think. I have no idea what software to even use. This turns a fuzzy daydream into an actual plan. You stop trying to borrow energy from a fantasy future and start generating it in the present to solve real problems. Number 2 is simple. Reverse the old advice. Stop announcing your plans. For a little while, just hold that dream close. Don't go looking for that quick hit of social validation. Instead, let the quiet, consistent work you're putting in be the announcement. Believe me, when you have something real to show, the conversation is a whole lot better. And finally, number 3, shrink the first step. The big dream of launching a business is overwhelming. It's not an action item. But you know what is? Spend 1 uncomfortable hour researching business licenses. It's not glamorous, it won't make for a great story, but that small, tangible, and kind of awkward step, that's a gap you can actually cross. And that's where real momentum is born. Because ultimately, that's the trap. The dream stops being a compass that guides your actions today, and it becomes this perfect, static destination in your mind. It becomes a postcard from a beautiful place that you never actually buy a ticket to visit. So as we wrap up, the real question isn't what's your big dream? You already know that. You've lived in it. The question to sit with is this. What is the single, small, maybe even slightly uncomfortable step you've been putting off? The one you could take not someday, but today,